Well, hello everybody and welcome to our next session of the Aeros Vision Power Hour. Today we are going to be covering how to create some dashing dashboards. What a nice little creative name we have there. So my name is Keith Mangold, and there's my contact information up on the screen, keith.mangold@culturatech.com, and my direct line number, 909-458-0201. If you have any questions on the usage of dashboards or the other functions in Vision, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or our customer support team, and we will be excuse me, more than happy to help you out. The dashboard stuff we're going to cover today generally is an additional license that you might have to pay for using it in the system. So if you have questions on the dashboard license and pricing and whatnot, you can reach out to Ben Silva. His information is there up on the screen, ben.silva@culturatech.com, 909-458-0203. You reach out to him and he'll be able to hook you up. So our agenda for today is going to be covering how to create some new dashboards. We're going to be showing you how to add those queries to the dashboard, how to add elements to it, such as grids and charts, and then using some of the filtering and drill down features that are available on the actual dashboard screen. And I'm getting somebody that's saying they have no audio. Anybody else having audio issues, or I'm just going to blame it on you, Cornelia? I think we're okay. So our schedule so far, we've covered the overview of Aeros Vision. We covered creating some quick queries. We have done, 2 weeks ago, we did rapid reports. Today we're covering the dashboards. In 2 weeks, I will be covering how to create some groovy grids. The grids is just a more advanced feature of expanding on the queries itself up here and showing you how to do some formatting and filtering and more functions in the grids. And our final wrap-up session of this series will be on December 18th with showing you Aeros Vision for the web. So now we will jump on in here and show you how it works. Make sure that I'm not hearing anything else here. Okay. So loading up Aeros Vision. Now if you have a license, or when you get the license for the dashboard system or dashboard functionality, you will see this third grid over here on your right, which will allow you to create some new dashboards and works the same way as the queries and reports, to where you have the options here to either hit the play button to run an existing dashboard, or you have the pencil button to edit an existing dashboard and make changes. So to give you a preview of what we're going to create, some of the things we'll create today, we'll show you how to create this revenue analysis dashboard. This revenue analysis is just a sample one that I created. You'll find specific ones for you. We have revenue over a time period, so showing you for your different products for 2013, 12, 11, and 10, just showing you that information. I have a grouping over here from revenue by product type. This is dollars up here, and this is quantity sold. We have a pivot table. You might be used to those within Microsoft Excel, but a pivot table shows you by revenue and units sold by state, just another example there. And this other example here shows you individual products and the total number, the total price of those individual products. So that's just one example there. We'll show you how to very easily create some grids and graphs based upon that. Another one I'll show you is this other sales review. This grid, or this chart up here, shows you total revenue by, it looks like by product. This one over here is by customer type, showing you by customer, and looks like the different product type mixes that those customers are ordering. And then over here I have monthly sales. This chart over here shows us by the top 5 products and their sales over the time period. This is a demo database, so hopefully sales go up and to the right instead of to the down. And then another example I'll show you is this filter sample one here, where it shows us just a little bit kind of the same information as on that last chart in terms of your sales, shows us by product type. It's just my sample here. And we can click over here on this grid option over here and filter down the data. And you can see as I'm clicking on like turkey, for example, the chart just shows turkey and my sales information over here by customer changes appropriately. So I'll show you how to do this filter option to go from there. Now, the dashboard functions are all based upon queries. In order to have a dashboard, you must first have your query returning the proper information for the data that you're looking for. Now, all these dashboards that I've done so far have been off this query that I wrote called the item sales history. So let me dig into the item sales history really quick so you get a basis of understanding of what's happening here. I'm just hitting the pencil to go into the design mode of the query to show us what this is doing. And here's our query. Basic query wrote out of the system where I am getting the customer number, the title, the invoice number, and the date, the details of the invoice, the extended price, the item, the description, the total pack amount. It's either going to be dozens or pounds depending on your business, the quantity, cases or whatnot, and then the type of the product based upon inventory types. I think everybody on this call is used to ERP at this point, and you know inventory types and their functions that they have within the system. And then it looks like I have a state code to get the state code of that customer. So if I just simply run this query, my grid down here is a little small on this screen. So if I look at my grid here, here's my raw data that I have showing me my inventory types, my item descriptions, and those different fields that I had selected. So this is the basis of a dashboard. You have to have your query first and make sure that your query is returning the data as expected. If you have any options in terms of needing to filter your data down because you don't want a specific product type or you don't need a specific customer or whatever it is, you want to do that filtering and set up those defaults within your standard conditions right here. Now, in my sample here, I've specifically excluded the inventory type of liquid eggs. The only reason for that is my sales numbers look really funky because in our demo database, our liquid egg pounds are absolutely massive and it screws off quantities on my sample charts. So that's my basis for this query. I'm sorry, for the dashboards I'm going to do. Now, a dashboard can use multiple queries. So you can create one called item sales history. You can create one for voucher details and payment information. And you can combine one dashboard to show you voucher information to customer information to invoice information to purchasing information. All of those different things can be combined. You just write your individual queries for them, and you have your dashboard with it from there. So to create a new dashboard, I'm going to hit this magical button that says New Dashboard. When it comes up, I get this blank slate. And what I need to start off with here is hitting this button right here that says Add a Vision Data Source, or Add Vision Source. When I click Add Vision Source, I see this option here comes up that says Select a Query. If you look here, I have those same exact queries that I have back on that query screen on the main screen of Vision. So I'm going to start by selecting my Item Sales History. Click Item Sales History, then click OK. Now over here, we see a list of those different fields. Those same exact options and those same exact columns that we had that query that we wrote returned back to me. Now it's a matter of coming up here and telling the system, what would you like? For example, I'm going to come here and let's start with doing a chart. So I'm going to click the chart button, and in this box right here, the chart appears. Give me 1 second. I see a chat message. Make sure what's going on here. I'm sorry, Cornelia and Joan, I don't know why you can't hear me. If anybody else not hearing me, speak up. Yeah, sorry, team, not sure what's going on. Okay, I hear people can now hear me, some others that can dial in. Sorry about that. So on this screen, so we added the chart to our screen here. And one of the things I'll just start off with is doing that that bar chart that shows our sales revenue over different years. So what we have here is we're different fields where we can say what are our values, what are our arguments, and what are our series. So I'll show you the easiest thing to do is I'm just going to grab the extended price field right over here, click it, drag it on right into the value field. Okay. So now we see what it gives me is this one big giant grand total bar chart that shows our total of extended price. So the total number of sales in the entire system through all the different years. Maybe not so much useful information, we want to break it down by year. So I'm going to use my date field that I have, and I'm going to add that into the arguments section. So I'll click arguments, and so here it has given me the information by year. I see each individual year, and I see my sales across the time period. Now I have 2010 all the way to 2021, 2020 and 2021 are our main sample data years, and we have some other information in these other years over here. If I want to see that by month, I could hit this little down arrow right here and go by month. Now this is showing me all months combined, so this is January of all the different years, not just a specific year. So we can create different methods in order to see that if we want. I can do a series by the date and do a series by year if I wanted to. Now on this little screen here, it's probably a little hard to really see that, and maybe you don't need to see the last 8 years on the screen there. So what we can do is we can also filter this data down directly within the dashboard screen. So I have this chart selected. I'm going to come up here and hit the data button. I'm going to hit edit filter. This filter editor up here allows you to create different filters for that data. So our query over here had so much data in it, but we might need to filter that down a little bit more and get a little more detailed because we don't need to see everything. You can either do your filtering in the query, say only give me everything within a less than 2013 or a different time period, or you can do it through the filter editor here, which is a little bit more dynamic. So I'm going to do here and say, well, the year is less than or equal to, let's just do 2020. Let's see, looking at my sample data here, I'm going to do less than 2014. I have a little bit cleaner, easier data to see here. So now I can see the different periods. It's grouped the series by the year. The blue was always the year of 2010, the red's 2011, 2012, and 2013. I'm going to get rid of this grouping just by dragging it back. And now we can see we're back here for this. Individual months. I'm going to switch it back to the year option. And once again, we see by our year data. If I come back up here to my edit filter, I'm going to add my year option here once again. My year is less than 2014. Now I have a little bit of a prettier chart. You could do greater than, if you wanted the last 3 years, so it only shows you the last 3 years sales data, you could do different options. This is where I just have a good sample set of data that creates a pretty graph for demo purposes. So that's how I can create a basic chart. Create a basic chart to show me my products over that time, or my total sum of my sales during that time period. Now this is my total sum of the sales by that time period. I can also get my inventory type. I can make that a series if I want to. I can go series here, and now you can see by market eggs, by poultry, by type, if you want that, different charting options right there. I'm going to get rid of that. So the next thing we can do is we can say, well, great, I got that bar chart that shows me my revenue over the time period. Let's also add a pie chart that shows me my sales by different types or quantities sold. Another one I showed you in a previous example. So I'm going to come back up here to the dashboard tab where I see my different options again, and I'm just going to hit the button right here. It says pie. So now it added the pie chart to my screen. So I can do the same exact things again, But now you see over here I have my values are cleared out because I'm on that specific pie. If I click over here to the chart 1, you see the values over here change, and these are your data items and your different configurations for chart 1. I'm going to go back over to pies, and I see my information here is all blank. So let's see, I want to see it by a couple different things. I want to see my values. I'm going to get my extended price. I'm going to drag that up there. I want my by sum, and I'm going to grab the quantity and make that be a different value also. Then I want to group it by my type. So now you see I have a very easy pie chart that shows my sum of my price. You can see poultry sales are 50% of my business, market eggs are 24%, and turkeys 25%. In terms of sales dollars, by quantity percentage, market eggs I've sold more, poultry is a little bit less, and turkey is the smallest. So all just by choosing your different options and doing different values over here, I've done by price and by value or quantity. You can see how when I drag these fields over here, this extended price and the quantity, it by default does a sum value. If I click the little drop down over here, I have a few different options. I can do a total count, which is really just the number of records. I can do a minimum, I can do a maximum, and I can do an average. So if I wanted to see the average, it looks, I guess 33% that would make sense. So I'll go back to sum here. I don't know what these are all going to give me. My average extended price of poultry is higher than my turkey, or turkey's higher actually. So you can play around if you want different groupings here by sum, minimum, maximum, etc. On this pie chart, you can see here we're showing the word market eggs, and it also shows us the percentage. You can do some formatting on these specific items by going to the layout and style. I can come right here on the pie chart, and I see I have a data label options, and I can tell it what would I like to see. So I just want to see the value. We can see it changes. I want value and percentage. I want the argument and value. So you can pick and choose which ones you want to be able to see. You can change it over to a donut. Whatever works for you to see the data how you like to see it. If I click on my chart and go to layout and style, you also see I have some different chart options coming back to this one where I can pull the chart down, and I have a wide selection of different charts if I can change it to. I can change it to a line chart or an area chart or a range chart or bubble, etc. So by the layout and style option up here, I can customize my information a little bit more. What I can also do here is I can right-click on this heading of this pies 1 and change and click on Edit Name. And now I can change the label of this. So I can change, for example, instead of it saying pies 1, I can show sales groupings. And then instead of extended price sum, I can say total revenue, total quantity sold. So now I've changed the headings to make it be a little more appropriate for what that individual chart is. If we look at this total quantity sold one down here, we also see it actually is showing $151. By default, the number field is going to assume that it's a quantity. I can come over here to the quantity sum and choose my format option. And here I have a bunch of different format types where I can easily say I want this to be a number. And how do I want it formatted? Ones, thousands, millions, or billions. So I can do, I want it to be a number at the thousands. And now you see I now have a more detailed and more accurate number instead of it showing the dollar sign in front of it. So once again, that was accessed by coming back under this little value here, clicking the little drop arrow and hitting the format option. And you can do that with any of the different fields. Okay. So another item that we can do that we'll add, I showed you earlier, was adding a pivot grid. So adding a pivot grid, I'm going to click the pivot button right here. And the system automatically adds the pivot grid onto the screen. Now I can go through and create my pivot grid by putting the different fields on here that I'd like to see. So I'm going to come over here and I want to do my columns. I want to do by my type of product. My rows I want to see by state. So now you can see it is getting the total count by state, which might not be so useful. So I want to do, actually I apologize, I'm going to move this down here to the column section. I want to see like that instead. Now I want to see my total revenue. That's my value. Now you'll see starting to populate those different fields. I now can see my market eggs in Arizona was 163,000, poultry was 309,000, and turkey was 164,000, and I have a total section over here that shows me my total sales is 636,000. I can see that this is a little too small for me to see here. This whole layout, I can customize and move different pieces around. So I'm just going to click on the heading, and it disappears for a second. Now you can see this little blue. If I were to let go right now, that's where it's going to put it. Now, it's even harder to see there, so I can click this little drag guy and drag my information down and resize. So once again, all I just do is just click on the different headings, and you can drag it to wherever you'd like to see it. You can sit and play with that for hours. I do. So that's the pivot. The pivot just shows you that same information in a grid view and going from there. So I'm going to save this. We've created our first little dashboard. I'm going to hit the Save button. It asks me for a name. I'll give it a name here. I'm going to also give it a category and subcategory. For those that were in the query training, this should look somewhat familiar. I'm going to say this is an Aeros ERP dashboard, and it has information about receivables. This is more for when you actually add it to the ERP menu structure, because you can open up ERP, go to receivables, go to reports, and actually open this demo dashboard directly from there. So your end users don't need to actually open up Vision. They can open up ERP and access the dashboard there. So I'm going to hit Save. Now if I close out, I now see I have my new demo dashboard option here. I'll hit Run. After it gets my data at some point today, there's our information, there's our pivot grid, sales grouping, and our chart. Now in the run mode, end users can't change anything on here. It's just a read-only view so that they can't move things around and they can't change the groupings and whatnot. So that way you can lock it down so different users can't make changes to that specific dashboard. So we talked about creating most of the elements. I think we covered most of the elements in this revenue analysis report or dashboard. We got that chart, we got our sales by state and our revenue by type. I didn't create this price one here. I can show you how to add that one. It's just another variation of a bar chart. In design mode, my resolution on my screen is really low just for the sake of recording the WebEx session here. But on your computer screen, it should be hopefully a little bit bigger if you have bigger monitors. If not, talk to your IT department, tell them I approved you to getting a new bigger monitor. I'll get some crap for that, I'm sure. So I'm going to add a chart button again. And this chart I can do whatever types of grouping I want. I want to show my values by price, and I want my arguments to be by item, that grouping was, or that sample was. So now I can see here over the course of the entire system and all the different data I have in here, what is my average sum of price by item. Or that's the sum of the price. I can change it to an average if I want to see what items have the higher price than others. So you have your pivots, your charts, your pies. Those are the main ones that we'll cover today. You can do fun other things with a gauge. A gauge allows you to do minimum and maximums, and you could do some stuff with budgeting and say what is your GL accounts against your budget and whatnot. Something I can show you offline because it's not very commonly used. I do have this one that I added on there. I am just going to right-click on it and hit the delete option to get rid of it. So we'll close out of this one. Let's go look at our sales review here and see what we'll create next for the next dashboard. So very similar information from before. We have our total revenue, our monthly sales, and sales by customer type. Let's go into the dashboard. Actually, let's go look at the design on this one. So you can see this one here. It's just a normal pie chart. We have our values by item. Values by extended price to show us total by item. And then our argument is by item. Our sales by customer type is showing us by the different customers. Looks like we're probably, let me look at something here, see if what I did. No, okay. And then this top 5 products by monthly sales. So let me show you how to create this top 5 products by monthly sales and show you how that one works, because it is a little bit different. Create a new dashboard. I'm going to go back up here to add vision source. And I'm going to select my item sales history. So I'm going to add a chart. So once again, I'll get my extended price because that's my values. That's what I like to run it off of. Then I also want to show my product. So my arguments on this could either be the item number or the description. Let's just do the item number here. So now you can see that we have this chart here showing us our top 5 products, or actually all of our products and the total revenue from each one of them. I want to change it to a bar chart. I can come up here to the layout and style, to a line chart. And in this section right here, I can pull this down. And I can click the button option right here. It says to do a line chart. So now it shows you a line of your different products. I actually want to do a series. I want to break it down a little bit more and do a series over a time period. So I'm going to choose my date. And now it's showing us the bar chart by time period. I can move things around if I want to say, well, that's where I want my period to be. I want to do argument there and description here. Now we see we're getting all kinds of more crazy stuff. I want to do it by month instead of year. You really can't see it because there's so many products, but I only want to show the top 5. So what I can do is come up here to the values. I can pull this drop down. Actually, I want to do argument and do top and do enabled, and I want to show my top 5 by the sum of the dollar amount. Now when I hit apply and OK, really it's going to show me everything. What am I doing wrong, Keith? Anybody know the answer to that? There we go. Others. No. Okay, so I'm going to go cheat. I'm going to save this guy really quick. Let's go see what I'm doing over here. Extended price sum, date, month. It's not top there. I want to do it by the series. That's my problem. I did the top 5 in the wrong section. So I'm going to go back to demo number 2. Shows you how just doing in the one wrong section changes the value or changes your layout completely differently. So I'm going to get rid of it there. I'm going to come back to the series and do a top N here, the top 5 series. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So now this shows me my top 5 products over that time period. Once again, I can right-click the headings, edit the names, change the top 5 products by month. Now, one of the things that we have here, if you recall, we're getting sales history over a multiple time period, multiple years. So this really isn't just over 1 month. This might show you information, just trends over the time period, that generally January and April here are your biggest months of sales, and it slows down over many years combined. But if you want to break it down by different years, that is just going to be the different series or arguments. So I'm going to choose my date option and drag this down, and we can see we now get different information and groupings there. I think I can move this guy. So go by year then month. So just different formattings. Or I can move it down to here to a series. And play with this all day long. I'm going to get rid of that date option. Another option that we can do is what we call master filtering. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and add a grid. I'm going to click grid, and I get a blank grid over here, a blank slate. What I'm going to choose over here is I'm going to choose my date field, and I'm just going to drag it over here to my columns. And I see now a list of all the different years that I have data for. I'm going to make this guy a little bit smaller because it doesn't need to be that big. Okay. Now I have a list of all my years. I'm going to come up here to this data option. And I'm going to hit this little option right here that says Master Filter. So I'm going to click Master Filter. And you see what happened is it added this little section, this little clear selection, this little filter guy right down here. If I now click on any one of these years, you'll see my chart is going to change because that is the data just for that specific year. So 2014, 2013, I don't know, I don't have any data. 2011 spiked, 2021, etc. So you can click on those different years to see your sales data over that time period. I can uncheck the clear selection, and that goes back to all years combined. So that was easily done just by adding a grid with whatever filter criteria that you want, and then clicking the master filter option. Now let me get rid of this one, and let's do it a little bit differently here. Let's delete, let's add another grid again, and we'll do it, say, by customer. And let's do one more, add another column here for description. That was not the column that I wanted. I want the customer name. So here's a list of my customers. I can do that same filtering. I'm going to come up here to Data, Master Filter. So if I just want to see a specific customer, I'll click Food Lion, for example, and it's their history over time. I'll add another grid, and we'll add back our year. I'll go back up here to Data and do Master Filter. So now I can see Cisco in 2020. There's my sales data over time period. So you can combine multiple grids together to filter however you would like. And so you can make the actual usage of the dashboards a little bit more dynamic in aspects of selecting a specific customer, seeing, okay, I have sales for them in these 3 different years, and here's my information. I want all customers or all years. You can filter down and clear out those different filters. So the important part on that is this master filter option right here. Any grid that you click on, you can make it part of the master filter, and any other option on that screen will filter down with that. So let me go back to our demo dashboard from the beginning here. And I'll show you how we can play with this a little bit more. As we know, this is showing all of our years. This is these 4 different years here, and our sales and our different pivots for that. I'm going to come over here to this chart 1 and click Data. And I'm going to do Filter by Argument, because my argument is the year. So if I click Filter by Arguments, now if I click on 2011, you'll see that the sales grouping information over here changes on my sales grouping, my chart, and my pivot information. Clicking on 2012 updates there, 2013. So that way you can filter your data down even by the charts. And once again, this was done by clicking Filter Arguments. Now how I knew to do Filter by Arguments is if I had that chart selected here, I see my arguments as year, so I know I need arguments as opposed to series. If I were to come over here to this one, actually we don't have series there, so that's not a good example. But you'll see on each one of these you have either filter by arguments or filter by series. Next thing we can do is within this individual, one second here, within this individual chart right here, I can create what's called drill down capabilities. So we can see just by clicking on this, I was able to filter all the rest of it, but let's say I want to drill down into a little bit more by month, and I want to affect all the other pieces of data on my screen. By default, my arguments over here just says the date year. I'm going to add another argument down here called date, and we'll call it quarter year. And let's add another one, date, month year. Now, coming over here and clicking on these different ones, I have all kinds of different options. It makes it kind of hard to see. But if I come up here and do drill down on arguments, it now took me back to the first argument, which is the year. Now I can double click on any one of these, and now I break it into the quarters because it takes it down to my next argument filter. I can click on quarter 2, drill down even more, and now I'm seeing by month. I can click this little up arrow right here to go back. So let's go to see 2013. I see my different quarters, and I can keep drilling in. And as you see, the entire time here, it is filtering down the rest of my charts. So that's what the drill down functionality, and that can be applied on any one of these different options here to where you have your different arguments. And you want to filter down. Generally, it seems to be work best on the date periods, because if you want to drill down maybe a customer and drill down on the sales by date and whatnot, you can keep filtering down and filtering your revenue by product or see your total price and keep going from there. You still can come up here and add a grid, for example. We'll do our grid with our date options, and we want that to be a master filter. Let's go back up on our years here. Clear our filters here. Here's all of our different years. I can click on the years here, and that once again will change everything. So you can use combinations of your grids to do your master filters. I'm going to clear this one out, or I can click on my little pie chart here and drill down into that year, and it will keep filtering all your information. So lots of fun stuff that you can do just with getting that information and displaying it and filtering it down so that you can give your users exactly what it is they need to see. I'll save that. Okay. So one last thing that I'll show you here with on the dashboards is on the new dashboard process. I told you how we could add different data sources. So if I choose Add Vision Source, I'll come back up here and do Item Sales History. That's the one we've been working with so far. So I'll just create a quick and dirty chart just to show you here. So we'll do chart of extended price and type. Okay, so we got our basic chart there. But now we want to add some other information from another query. I can click Add Vision Source here, and I can pull any one of those other different queries that I have available to me. So let's do, for example, this invoices query I think we've been working on for the last couple of weeks. Now, once that comes up, come on, load all my data. We now see over here on the left, we now have demo invoices instead of the item sales history. So now I can create a grid if I want to, and this grid can go off this other query. So I want to show my customer number, and I want to show my amount. And looks like that must have only filtering down to show me only one specific customer. So that's not very helpful. So I'm going to save and close this. Give me my options here for my category. It does require this every time you're going to save a new query. I'm going to come over here to my demo invoices. Yep, I have it specifically set to not give me that, or to only just that customer. So I'm going to get rid of that, change it, come back over here to my multi-query. Now when I run this, there we go. I see some better information there. So now I can see all my different customers from this query and my total sum amount of my invoices as opposed to my different sales over here. So different queries allow you to, or by adding the clicking the Add Vision Source option up here, I can pick and choose those different queries, add them in, and you can see when I click on the grid, my data source that I have connected to that one, or my vision source query, gives me different options as opposed to when I click on my chart, because that one's configured a different way. So I can do a chart over here. If I wanted to, based upon the demo invoices, I want to do a amount by customer. And then you can see what customers owe you the most money. We can convert that to a different format if we want to. We can convert it to an area, a bar chart, bubble, you name it. We do have some other further options in here, and you can play with this until your heart's content. You have the y-axis settings, where you can say, do you want to show the y-axis? We can hide that, so it doesn't show you the sum over here if you just want to get rid of and kind of show you in proportion to everything else. Do you want to show a 0 level or not? Do you want to show a title? What do you want that title to be? Call it whatever. Okay. Do you want to show a legend? I can uncheck the button up here if I want to get rid of that legend, because you know that's what that is. It's the sum of the amount. So you can do any formatting there with those. Each one of these has their different options, be it a line chart, a bar chart, you name it. It will give you options that are appropriate for that one. I don't know how much options that the grid does. Yep. The grid has some options to do vertical lines if you want to show those or not. See, I'm getting rid of information. Just whatever makes sense for you to see that data. So saving all of those, once I have them all saved, I have my different dashboards over here. Users can log into Aeros Vision and click the Run button next to any one of these. So if I just go to my demo dashboard, run that, it loads all my data. All my functionality is there. You can see I have these filter options right down here. The ones that we talked about or we created, we're clicking on the different ones, filters that data. So that still runs. The users can run that in the view mode. Go all the way back up here. Different years, whatever I want to do there. Once you know your dashboard's good or you're ready to show it to some of your other users, you can right-click on it and do Publish to Aeros ERP, and this will add it to the ERP menu structure. So it's going to go in the demo dashboard, it's going to go under Master, must have been where I saved that one. I'll publish that. Now your users, when they log into ERP, would be able to see that. You would need to talk to your user security administrator to give actually the users permissions to do that report. But they should now see that up on the screen in their menu structure. And you can have multiples for whatever you're looking for. So that's an overview and beginning of actually creating dashboards within the system that marries the queries. Remember, the query is the basis of your dashboards. That's what you need to have first. You need to make sure those are spitting out and giving you the right data first. Then your dashboard pulls directly from that data. And that's all I have for today's training session with showing you dashboards. I will look at the chat message up here and see if there's any notes or comments. If you have any questions, I'll stay on for a few minutes to see if there's anything that pops up. Other than that, everybody have a fantastic day, and thank you for your time and listening to today's session. I have a question here of, can you print the dashboards? As of right now, no, you cannot, but that is coming in a future version. It does have a method to, in a future version, there's a little print and or an export button up here. I was actually playing with that in our development environment a couple days ago. But as of right now, this current version, you can just see it on the screen and do a print screen on that, but you will be able to export them probably in the next couple of months when we're actually able to release that new version with the exporting and printing capabilities. Well, if there are any other further questions, you can more than welcome to reach out to me. Here's my contact information up there again. You also get a follow-up email to me with the recording of this, so you can listen to my lovely voice over and over again and try to make your own dashboards. If you don't have a license for it, you can reach out to Ben Silva. His information is there. You might be hearing from him or your main contact with your company might be hearing from him because he does have everybody's name, so he can make sure he has all the pricing out for you available if you're curious. Thanks everyone, and have a great day.